My friends, if there's one question I get asked about all the time, it is how do I make the most amount of progress on guitar in the shortest amount of time possible, putting in the least amount of effort as possible. I can understand where that's coming from. Not all of us have time to play and practice guitar all day. There are sadly no cheat codes out there, but I do believe that you can reach a professional level with a consistent daily practice plan, even if it's quite short. So with today's really helpful video, I want to show you the best possible exercises that you can practice if you don't have a lot of time to actually practice every single day. So these are the exercises I would recommend for your practice routine if you only have around 30 to 60 minutes to practice every single day. Let's go. So what I have for you for the first exercise is really great for your fingers, and there's also a tapping twist in there because we all don't work on tapping enough. So aside from being a cool legato drill where you focus on your note spacing and note separation to make it really clean and fast, you also work in one tapped note. And as you can hear, that sounds quite impressive when you play it fast and you focus very hard on playing it clean and making all the notes audible. So I'm simply starting out with a very basic 3-note per string line, just playing A, B and C. And in order to stretch for the upcoming 4-note per string line, I'm using my index finger, middle finger and ring finger for that. Then I'm playing D, E, F and G, using my index finger, middle finger, ring finger and pinky finger. And I'm tapping A on the 17th fret on the E string before I'm pulling off and playing everything back down in the other direction. So the reason why this is a great exercise for short practice routines is because my fretting hand already feels warmed up just playing it a couple of times for you right now, because you have to really focus on making every note audible, so clean hammer-ons and pull-offs. It's also a little bit harder to do that on the higher strings. And I also love that there's a tapping twist in there because, as I mentioned, we all don't work on tapping enough. And for the exercise I tapped out for you today, I'm moving it to a new position. So this is a pattern that you can move through different scales, of course. You're always starting with a 3-note per string shape and then you're extending it to 4 notes per string, actually 5 notes per string with the tapped note included. So when you practice this exercise, I'd recommend learning the first pattern and then the second one before you start combining them. That's pretty advanced, but you will get great value out of practicing it even just for a couple of minutes. I feel really warmed up already. Now for exercise number 2, of course you want to work on some alternate picking, even if you don't have that much time to practice. And we often talked about the picking angles and switching between them. And in my opinion, if you don't have that much time to work on alternate picking, you should work on something that's quite challenging, a lick where you have to use both picking angles. You start out with a picking angle where the pick is moving away from the guitar like this, so not like that, like this. Because you're playing a note on the G string and you want to escape that space between the G and the B string. After the downstroke, that would be the correct angle, so not like this, like that. But with the upstroke right here, you have to turn around the picking angle so that your pick can escape from in between the strings after the upstroke, and you land the next downstroke again where you have to use this picking angle. I will try to play it very slow and really over-exaggerate those movements so that you can see what's happening here. So you kind of have this small turning motion where you use this angle for the upstroke and then you switch immediately to that angle for the downstroke on the G string. Of course, these motions are really small when you do it very fast. But I still can feel it a little bit when I'm playing at this tempo. By the way, my friend, if you want to make your life even easier when it comes to practicing and improving on the guitar, and you want to save more time and get even better results, you can download my detailed premium step-by-step courses by just clicking the link down below, patreon.com/bernd. That's my online guitar academy where I could help over 40,000 guitar students so far with achieving their goals on the instrument. Here's one of my favorite student clips, absolutely insane transformation. If you want results like this in a very short time, you need a structured step-by-step path to follow, a practice routine that does not take up 3 hours of your time every day, and the perfect exercises that come with multiple practice benefits. You can find all of that in my premium step-by-step courses I made for my online guitar academy on Patreon. Let's also take your guitar technique to a world-class level starting today. Just click the link down below. I'm waiting for you over there. But now let's continue with the video. So for me, this basic exercise routine that I tapped out, where you're just working with this pattern in a couple couple of different positions. It's a great choice if you don't have a lot of time to work on alternate picking, because you need both of these angles. You need to work on your string transitions. So that one's a great choice for your next short routine. So for number 3, I want to revisit one that didn't get a lot of attention right here on Patreon, but I see myself returning to it quite often because it's a great combination of sweep picking and alternate picking. And as you might have experienced yourself while practicing, we often separate different techniques. So we work on sweep picking for 15 minutes, on alternate picking for 15 minutes, but we never really combine them that much in our practice routines, which is actually what we need to do in a practical context when we're playing guitar solos. So as a reminder, I want to show you this one again. I think it's really, really cool. You probably know both the arpeggios and the quick 300 per string scale shapes in there. Kind of cliche, but still sounds awesome, and it's a great workout for both techniques. So it's a 5/4 measure. You have your basic sweep picking arpeggio followed by a pretty standard 300 per string run. But what makes this so great is that you immediately have to switch between your sweep picking and alternate picking. And if you try this for the first time and those two motions feel completely different to you and you struggle with switching back and forth very fast, you know that you have a problem right here. Because once again, with both techniques, the goal is just switching between them effortlessly whenever you're playing a guitar solo. So even though those are two different techniques and movements, you want to make sure that they don't feel completely different, and you want to train your brain to switch between them in a fast and fluid way. So with this exercise I tapped out for you, you just play the A minor arpeggio and the A minor scale, and then you switch to G major. And this exercise makes for a great loop to go back and forth between alternate picking and sweep picking. And if you do just that at a pretty fast tempo for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes, you will definitely feel that in your fingers. So that's a great choice for a more advanced technique workout for short daily practice routines. All right, moving to number 4. This is something I find myself working on quite a lot recently, and it concerns control with your picking hand when it comes to switching between different strings. As you know, especially rock and metal guitar players, I'm kind of guilty of playing very linear, so always one string after the next one, going into one direction or into the other one. So what I want to develop, especially with fast licks, is great control when it comes to my picking hand, switching between different strings all the time, so that I can play more tricky angular fusion lick stuff at very fast tempos. So just big jumps in between the intervals, notes and strings. And in order to practice that kind of control with my picking so that I don't hit the wrong string, an exercise like this can really help. Although it's not that musical, it's a great technical workout. The gap gets wider every single time, and I still want to make sure to return to the right string and not hit all the strings in between. So for the exercise I tapped out for you, you can try something like this, where you just change the pattern and the fingers a little bit. Much harder than it looks. I think that's a great and simple one to train the coordination in between your hands, and especially string skipping skills if you want to play more advanced licks with wider note gaps, which I highly recommend. For the last one, this one is really fun and you've heard it in a lot of songs by now. Something I like to do quite a lot, essentially a combination of alternate picking, economy picking and sweep picking. I'm choosing simple 3-note per string arpeggios. And instead of just working with sweep picking or just with alternate picking, I'm playing the first note with kind of a tremolo picking approach before going into sweep picking, descending in the arpeggio shape, and then I go right back up. Pretty cool in my opinion, very unique kind of sound. Doesn't really sound like sweep picking right away, also not like alternate picking. So really slow down, up, down, and then you go into the sweep picking, so upstrokes all the way, and then one last accent on the high E string, so you have to skip between the strings again with a downstroke. Here's how you can practice that with the example I tapped out for you this week. Once again, we often separate sweep picking, alternate picking, economy picking, all that stuff, and this is essentially a combination of all of those techniques. But it really pays off to work on it, because you will be able to play fun things like that. Super useful, very fun. Alright my friends, those were 5 really cool and effective technique workouts for short practice routines. If you feel stuck with any of these exercises, licks or techniques, consider joining the Patreon VIP Facebook group. I'm active there myself and I'm giving very helpful feedback to student practice videos. We have an awesome, super positive community, constantly helping each other out, and it's the perfect environment for maximum guitar progress. So I'm waiting for you over there, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.